Most women give up right when their body is just about to change. A plateau isn't a sign that you're broken. It's really just a sign that you need to evaluate and pivot. Because here's the reality is that a plateau is going to be inevitable. It's going to show up on your journey. And if you're not prepared for it, then it's going to bite you in the ass and it's going to cause you to quit. And quitting equals zero results. So stick around. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about in today, which is day 5 of our Lean Physique Challenge. Thanks so much for being here. I've been pumped this entire week. I've been really enjoying hearing you guys' messages about, hey, Courtney, I've gotten the 2 workouts done this week. Hey, Courtney, what do you think of these daily commitments? I freaking love it. Please keep it coming. Drop any wins that you've had so far in this challenge. And I want to remind you that any win, no matter how small, is a big step in the right direction. Because if you've taken any action this week that you wouldn't have taken otherwise, that is freaking amazing, okay? And this is exactly how your body starts to change. This is exactly the path to transformation. So I want you all to know that education can only get you so far. What's actually going to change your body, transform how you look and feel, is going to be the implementation. So that's exactly why we're here doing this challenge, is to not only figure out what it takes to get lean and strong in perimenopause, but what you can do. And it's not just, hey, you have to do this and this and this. It's not about doing a lot of stuff. It's about doing the right things and also doing the things that you're able and willing to do right now. So I'm really excited to be here for the last day of our challenge. I want to hear those wins. Drop those into the comments. And before we get going into the last day of our Lean Physique Challenge, we are going to just do a quick recap, okay? So I don't know if you guys have noticed so far, I did mention it on day 1. We have been spelling the word frame. So I've been actually sharing my framework, if you will, with you guys for getting lean and strong in perimenopause. So if you want to lose fat, if you want to look more toned, if you want to look more lean, if you want to be strong in this stage of life, this is the formula to get you there. So day 1 was the F in frame. That is the foundation of muscle. We talked about how important it is to lift weights, not just any weights, but we talked about the importance of implementing progressive overload. So that is essentially increasing the weight loads when appropriate, doing things like improving range of motion, the quality of your lifts, increasing sets and reps, okay? The reason why this is really important is because your body is adaptable. So meaning your body's going to get used to what it's doing. So you need to challenge it by giving it enough stimulus. And this is especially important if you're 40 plus, because it is harder to build muscle in this stage of life. So things like group fitness classes and boot camps, those are not the best ways to build muscle because they do not implement progressive overload. They do not give you enough time to rest in between sets to lift as heavy as you can. So we talked about the importance of lifting with progressive overload and how that can transform your body and help you look good as you lose weight. In day 2, we talked about the big rocks. So R was all about the big rocks, and these are the big dial movers that is going to help you get that lean tone look that you're looking for, 40 plus. So we talked about the big behaviors that are very basic and they're kind of boring, but these are the things that we want to continue to dial in with time, because these are really going to be the things that are going to help you achieve long-term weight loss and weight loss maintenance. So what we did on day 2, we talked about the daily commitments. We broke those 6 big rocks down into some simple actionable steps that you can take. And by doing this, you're just going to be able to alleviate so much noise, because there's a lot of perimenopause experts out there that tell you that you have to do intermittent fasting windows, that you have to cut carbs, that you have to do HIIT workouts, that you have to do cardio, that you have to run, all of these things. That is absolutely not true. What is really going to move the dial forward is not fancy things. It's not anything that's trending. It's not anything that's going to be out in the next 6 months, okay? What is actually going to change your body is the basic behaviors that actually move the dial forward. So really important that we just focus on 2 to 3 things. That way we can shut down all the noise, because if we're trying to overhaul a lot of things or do things that we're just not willing and able to do right now, that's not realistic for our life, then we're not going to be able to stick with them. So we took those 6 big rocks and we broke those down into simple, actionable steps. So that way you guys can pick exactly what you want to focus on right now in order to start changing your physique. And then in day 3, we talked all about assessing your current physique. So that way you know you're going after the right goal. So we talked about body recomposition, how that's such a big buzzword in the fitness industry right now. The idea of losing fat and building muscle at the same time. So we talked about how only a small percentage of people can actually do this. Now, I'm not saying that only a small percentage of people can do it. Everyone can do it, but here's the thing is that for a lot of populations, the results are going to be very, very slow. So we either have to manage our expectations or we need to pick one goal and go all in. So we talked about the physique assessment guide, which is just a simple guide to ask a couple of questions to assess where you're at with your current physique. And that way you can pick the goal that is going to work best for you instead of just following body recomposition protocols that are going to cause you to spin your wheels for a lot of women. Day 4, which was yesterday, we talked about the M frame, which is macros. So we talked all about simple ways that you can start implementing macro counting. You do not have to overhaul everything with macro counting. You do not have to weigh everything perfectly or track everything right off the bat. We talked about some simple ways that you can just start taking action with macro counting, which is really going to be the biggest driver of your fat loss, because we learned that we need to have a calorie deficit in order to lose weight, but we also need to understand things like eating at maintenance, because after a diet, this is very, very important to pull out of a deficit, start slowly increasing your calories, going back to a maintenance level. This is where you can restore your hormones, you can restore your metabolism, and you're also going to be able to make your body more responsive. So meaning you can cut off of higher calories, which makes the process so much easier and more enjoyable while maintaining muscle mass. This is really, really important, because if you continue to diet and restrict calories, you will get to a point where you're in a corner and you're going to have to drop calories more in order to see more fat loss results. So this is why it's so important to have phases with your macros. But yesterday was all about just getting started with macro counting, because this is really going to be the biggest driver to your success. All right, without further ado, ladies, we are going to talk about the E in frame, which is evaluate and evolve. So open your inbox, because we have another resource, the last resource, which is in the Lean Physique Challenge. We have today the progress audit. Okay, let me ask you this and let me know in the comments. Have you ever been on a fat loss journey, and maybe in the beginning things were working, but after a certain point, whether it was weeks or months, you ended up stalling? Okay, so whether that was your results slowed down or they stopped completely, let me know. Can you guys put a hand raise emoji into the comments or say me? Let me know, because I'm really, really curious, because most women, I would say actually all women, are going to get to this point at some point, okay, on their journey. And it's not just with fat loss, this could also be with muscle building, okay? So that's exactly what we're gonna be doing today. We are going to walk through the progress audit that came out in today's challenge email. So hey guys, it is not too late, because here's the deal. Sign up for the challenge, okay? If you're just now catching on that we're having the challenge, but you're like, oh, it's day 5, listen, tomorrow I'm going to be sending out an email with an entire playlist to all the trainings that we've done this week. So that way you guys can binge watch over the weekend, okay? So it's not too late to join. And trust me, if you guys are with me here right now and you're nodding along and you're like, yep, 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 I have something special for you that's going to come out on Monday, and I only have a few select spots to take on a few ladies inside of my one-on-one coaching membership for women, Lean Physique. So if you want the details on that, make sure that you sign up. It's not too late. You can still get caught up, okay? But I'm only going to be like sharing that link to sign up for the one-on-one coaching through the email. So if you're interested in trying this and moving on past the challenge and getting the support you need in order to be successful, make sure you sign up for the challenge so you don't miss out on the opportunity. All right, ladies, we're going to go ahead and dive in to this progress audit. So again, like I said in the beginning of our live stream, if you ever come across a plateau, it does not mean your metabolism is broken. It does not mean you're too old. It's not your hormones, okay? It's simply that we need to look at the data and see what is causing the stall. Then we can take that information and we can actually pivot, okay? So just know that if you come across a plateau, it's not like you're fucked. There's actually a way out of this, okay? And I need you guys to be prepared for this because it is going to happen. I can promise you that at some point during fat loss or muscle building or body recomp, you are going to come across a plateau. That is absolutely inevitable. But here's the thing. If you let it get the best of you, okay, this is what I was talking about on day 1 and day 2 is this whole idea of thinking you're fucking broken. If you have that belief, it is going to cause you the start and stop process over and over. So you start something new. You start a diet, you start a new challenge, you start intermittent fasting, you start boot camps, whatever the shiny object of the week is, you start that. You do it for a while, you stop seeing results, and you think you're fucking broken, and you stop, okay? The problem with this is when you stop, you don't do anything, right? Like, we throw everything out the window because we're like, what's the use? There's no use dieting or watching what I eat because my body never ever changes. So the problem is that we create this story that's actually not true. And that story gets stronger and stronger the more things you try and fail at, okay? So it's not that these things are not possible for you. It is absolutely possible for you. But like we've been saying throughout this whole challenge is that it doesn't take 47 different things. It takes doing the right things, and it also takes not quitting every fucking week, okay? So if you're stopping and starting, that is part of the issue. The other issue with stopping and starting here is because it's harder to get started once you stop. You guys all know how this goes. Even if it's just like a temporary break, like a couple weeks, have you ever noticed how much harder it is to go back to your healthy eating or get back into the gym or your workouts? Yeah, it's a lot harder because you broke the momentum, right? This is why like easy is actually earned. So for me, it's actually easy to get myself to the gym. Why? Because I've been doing it for a long time. So what we need to do, we need to stop this start and stop process, okay? So starting something new, getting frustrated when the results are slow or when the results start to stall, and then quitting because it's those little tiny quits. Even if it doesn't seem like a big quit, those little quits are going to add up. You lose momentum. You get that story ingrained and more in your brain that you're broken, that nothing is ever going to work, that this is the way I am, it's my hormones, it's my age. That is not true, okay? And then again, it just makes it harder to get started again. So what we need to do is realize a plateau, that is absolutely going to be showing up somewhere on my journey, and I need to be mentally prepared for it. Because if you're not, then you're going to end up quitting. And quitting is you're not going to get any results if you quit, okay? So we just need to be in the right mindset that, hey, there is a solution to this, but I need to be open to looking at the data and pivoting, okay? So it's just going to take a couple tweaks. All right. So let's go ahead and go over this progress audit, okay? So I want you guys to use this guide anytime that you get a stall in your fat loss, in your body recomposition, or your muscle building goals, okay? So first off, we're going to go over the questions about fat loss. So this is going to be if you are wanting to lose weight or body fat. This is what you're going to ask yourself if you have stalled out 2 weeks or more. Okay, so I want to be really clear by that because here's the thing, results are not always linear. Okay, so in the context of fat loss, you hear all the time a pound a week. Okay, a pound a week is great. Is that going to happen for everyone? No, it's not. So there's a few scenarios. So one, if you don't have a lot of weight to lose, like if you only have like 5 or 10 pounds to lose, you might not lose a pound a week. So the closer you are to your goal, the slower fat loss is probably going to be, okay? Another scenario is if you've been dieting for a long time, yeah, your body is probably going to adapt, okay? This is why we talked about, I think it was in day 3, we always start a fat loss phase with a modest calorie deficit, okay? So like a 15% calorie deficit. We don't start with like a 30% calorie deficit, because if we do, more than likely, if we get that stall and we have to drop our calories, we're just going to have to be like in a really big deficit, right? So that's why we always start our fat loss phase with our calories as high as possible. Then we can drop them as we go. So I did this in October. I told you guys about my fat loss phase just, I think, in day 3. But last fall, I ended up losing 12 pounds over 13 weeks. I started off with just a 15% calorie deficit. Once that started slowing down and I didn't see any weight loss for 2 weeks, I went ahead and I dropped my calories, I think like 100 or 200 calories. So that actually got the scale moving again. So it was just literally, my body started to adapt to that, and I just had to drop those calories a little bit more, okay? So those are really the 2 scenarios that I see most commonly with fat loss. Either you're really close to your goal and your weight loss goal is only like 5, 10, 15 pounds. You might not lose a pound a week, right? And then the other thing is, if you've been dieting for a while, it's totally normal to have a stall. It's not anything that you're doing wrong. It's not anything that means that, you know, like you're just not able to lose any more weight. It just means that we need to look at the data and possibly make some kind of pivot, okay? But again, weight loss is not always linear. So I want you kind of to forget that idea of like a pound a week or 2 pounds a week is ideal. Everyone's going to be a little bit different, and it's just going to depend on so many factors, okay? So if your goal is fat loss and the scale has not budged in over 2 weeks, I want you to ask the following question. Are you tracking everything? Okay, so things like condiments and coffee creamer, snacks, bites, little licks here and there, tastes, grabbing off your kids' plates, supplements, things like that. These are things that are easy to forget about. We talked a lot about this in day 4 with macros. We talked about tracking the little things, because yeah, even like 10 calories here, 50 calories here, 30 calories here, that can add up. And that is enough to knock you out of a deficit if you're doing this every day, okay? The second question, did you eat out more than twice in the last 2 weeks, okay? So this is gonna be really nuanced for a lot of reasons. 1, some people just have to be a little more stricter than others. 2, it also depends on what you're ordering at these restaurants, okay? But the reality is, whenever you're going out to eat, even if they have nutrition information, we still don't know if they're measuring ingredients in the kitchen, okay? So meaning, we don't know how accurate those nutrition facts really are. Are they really actually facts, right? So I don't think you have to stop going out to eat, but I think we need to either manage our expectations, right? To know that, hey, going out to eat might slow my progress a little bit, because again, we just don't know what exactly we're consuming when we're going out to eat, okay? So I always tell people, I don't think that it's necessary to cut out going out to eat, but I do think that it can be helpful with staying on the right path if your goal is fat loss, to limit going out to eat. So that is the second question, is did you go out to eat more than twice in the last 2 weeks? Question number 3, are your steps averaging at least 8K a day? Okay, so we're talking about fat loss stalls here. Okay, movement is really important. We talked about this in day 2, because if you're sedentary, you're probably going to struggle with fat loss. You really need to keep your calories under control, right? So creating a calorie deficit and keeping your movement high, okay? If you don't get a lot of steps in, you're probably going to struggle with fat loss. It's going to make it a little bit slower. So if your goal is fat loss, get some kind of fitness tracker, so that way you can assure that you're keeping your steps to an adequate level. All right, question number 4 for fat loss. Did you get at least 3 strength workouts in last week? Okay, again, very, very important. So not really from a calorie standpoint, but we just want to make sure that we are keeping strength training a constant, especially in a calorie deficit, because we talked about how in a calorie deficit, a lot of women cannot build muscle, So unless you have a lot of weight to lose and you haven't been consistent with weight training, this is really the only time that you can lose fat and build muscle, is when it's been a while since you weight trained, you're not consistent with it, and you have quite a ways to your weight loss goal, okay? So this is why weight training is really, really important. Very, very important if you are rapidly losing weight. So for example, if you're on a GLP-1, it's really important that during your weight loss journey, not after, you don't want to wait until after, you need to be weight training during your fat loss phase. So especially if you're on a GLP-1, because that can cause rapid weight loss. And unfortunately with rapid weight loss, you're probably going to lose some muscle mass, and muscle is what's going to make you look lean and toned, tight and defined. Okay. And then finally, the last question for troubleshooting fat loss plateaus is, are you sleeping at least 7 hours of sleep, at least 7 hours a night? Okay. Why is this really important? Because if you're sleep deprived, you might not make the best nutrition choices. It can absolutely influence your hunger and your cravings, not to mention things like your energy levels, so energy to exercise and move, get your steps in, as well as really just your mood, right? So all of these things are going to impact your decision to exercise, your decisions with your diet. So that is the questions for troubleshooting fat loss plateaus. So I want you guys, whenever you hit a fat loss plateau, ask yourself these 5 questions, okay? You don't need to be judgmental or beat yourself up over it. It's just like a yes or no type situation, because this is where we want to look at, okay? If fat loss isn't happening, more than likely it's going to be one of these factors that's getting in the way and causing the plateau, okay? So basically, what I want you to think about, if you're checking off all of these things, like, okay, yep, I'm tracking everything, like I have that down, I'm going out to eat to a minimum, I'm getting my strength workouts in, I'm getting my steps in every day, and I'm sleeping decent for most nights. If that's really it, more than likely we probably just need to drop calories, okay? So we want to look at these first before we drop calories. Very, very important, because we don't want to just keep dropping calories if we don't need to, right? Because like I was saying, the goal isn't to cut your calories as low as possible. The actual goal is to keep your calories as high as possible as you lose weight, okay? There's a lot of reasons for that: muscle preservation, metabolic reasons to keep your metabolism healthy, okay? So let me know, drop any questions that you might have about fat loss plateaus into the comments. Okay, we're gonna move on to some other goals, because like we talked about in day 3, some of you guys might not have fat loss goals, or maybe you're not ready for fat loss yet, because really to do fat loss, you need to have particular skills in place. Like you need to be walking a lot, right? You need to be consistent with weight training. You also need to know how to do portion control, how to macro count. These things are really, really important, because we want to just get in and out with fat loss. We don't want to sit here and do this for like years and years. This is really more like a weeks, month situation versus years. So this is why if someone is not ready for fat loss, like maybe they do have a fat loss goal that they want to achieve, but if they don't have the skills in place first, I always encourage hey, let's just work on these lifestyle factors and just work on maintaining your weight. I know that's not what people want to hear, but at the end of the day, this can solve so many issues, okay? One, if you are chronically dieted, like if you have a long dieting history and you're already eating low calorie and you're not losing weight, then it would actually be irresponsible for me to put you in a deficit. Why? Because I don't want you to eat 1,100 calories a day in order to lose weight, right? So that's just one scenario. And also, like I was saying, if you don't have a high step count, you're probably going to struggle with fat loss. So it's really important to make sure that we have these certain skills in place. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So I called it lifestyle, but you can call it maintenance. But this is a really good phase to be in. This is what I'm doing right now. So right now, I'm just trying to maintain my weight. The reason is because I'm happy with my level of leanness. It's easy to maintain. And also, this is where you can build muscle. most women are not going to be able to build muscle in a deficit. So it is important at some point after your diet to pull out of a diet and start to eat at maintenance, where you're eating essentially what your body burns. So those are the two situations, okay, for maintenance or lifestyle, is that you've already done a diet and we're just gonna do maintenance for a while to restore your metabolism and to work on muscle building. The other scenario is if you just don't have the skills in place yet, okay? So again, ladies, these are skills. These aren't things that you're born with or you're not. These are literally things that you can learn, you can develop, and you can improve over time. And that's the beauty of it, because when you have these skills in place, it's actually really, really easy. Like, it's smooth sailing. You have a plan, you know what to do, you know how to track your macros, all of that good stuff. It just makes the process so much easier and way more successful. So let's go over the questions if right now you're in a maintenance phase. Are you hitting your daily commitments 80% of the time? Okay. If you guys missed day 2, check that out in our group. Okay. We talked about setting daily commitments, and these are really just picking out a few key behaviors to focus on. That way your brain's not like, okay, I need to do this, like a million different things. That leads to burnout and quitting. Okay, so day 2 was a really important day in our challenge because we went over the things that actually matter when it comes to losing fat and building muscle over 40. And we broke those down, and you guys individually are just picking out 2 to 3 behaviors to focus on. Okay, so these are things that are easy enough that you can check off at least 80% of the time. So that's the first question. Okay, if you feel like you're stalled out in maintenance, are you hitting your daily commitments 80% of the time? Okay. Question 2, are you eating in a way that feels balanced and not all or nothing? So meaning, are you like restricting like a lot during the day or during the week only to find yourself overeating and having a lot of cravings for junk like at night or on the weekends? Okay. So no judgment here. It's just a question, right? Like, what's the reality of this situation? Question 3, are you feeling energized, not drained most of the time? It's really important to check in with your biofeedback markers, like your hunger, your energy, and your cravings, things like that. So assessing your current energy levels. This is going to also kind of give you some insight on if you're eating enough or not. Because a lot of times, low energy, you know what that comes from? It comes from low food. So this is one of those things that if you chronically diet, most of those people are sedentary. And yeah, sometimes their lifestyle has a lot to do with that, like sedentary jobs. It can make it really easy to be sedentary. But a lot of times when I dig deeper, I realize most of these people that are struggling with getting steps, these people are actually like, they're under eating, right? So that can really affect your motivation and your energy levels. And then finally, are you roughly maintaining your weight? Okay, let me just say this real quick. Maintenance, you're probably not gonna be shredded, okay? So even if like you are close to your goal, like here's the thing guys, like this whole body recomposition thing, like I'm not losing any more body fat. Okay, I have not lost any body fat since my cut ended in November. Okay, I've been roughly the same, actually maybe a little bit up. It is totally normal to gain like, I would say up to 5 pounds in maintenance. Some people might be a little bit more, but usually it's just like a couple pounds to like 5 pounds. That is absolutely normal, okay? So I just want to say this because I think a lot of people are thinking like maintenance, body recomposition, losing fat, losing fat, building muscle. Guys, when you're in maintenance, you're probably not going to get leaner, okay? You really need to be in a deficit to lose body fat. So that's what I want to say about body recomposition, because a lot of people think that that's what happens in maintenance, but it really isn't. Like, you're essentially just going to maintain your weight, okay? Maybe even gain a few pounds, but for most people, you're not gonna like get more shredded. You're not gonna get leaner. You might be able to build some more muscle. So you might be able to add like muscle size, like to your glutes, to your deltoids, things like that. But your body fat percentage is probably not gonna go down, okay? If anything, the scale is probably gonna go up just due to like, eating more food, but also muscle building. So yeah, it's totally normal for the scale to go up a little bit. So let me know if you guys have any questions about that. We have one more goal to go over with the progress audit guide. So hey guys, this is in, let me show you the front page again. This is in the email for day 5. This is like a little progress audit because I want to say this. I think it's really important to say this because a lot of people think that a plateau means like, oh shit, you know, like I'm just done. I can't lose any weight. Like my metabolism shot. That's not it. It's probably that you just need to audit what is going on and then you can make pivots to your plan. Okay. If your goal is building muscle, okay, so meaning you're probably going to be eating at maintenance or in a slight surplus. This is really only for people that are really lean, like close to their goal weight. And they also want to build muscle, but they want it to be faster than in maintenance because you can build muscle in maintenance, but it's going to be slow. Some women might want to eat just slightly more than their body needs and to build more muscle, and that's just going to be a little bit faster, right? But you are going to have to be okay with the scale going up. You probably will gain weight and you're probably going to gain a little bit of fat. But we are going to go over this just because there might be some of you all that are in this position and you might want to consider doing a small build. So if your goal is building muscle, are you consistently eating enough food? Okay, so AKA, you're not skipping meals, you're not doing intermittent fasting, and you're hitting your protein goals. I'm also going to say this, guys. You know what I discovered? I eat really high carb now, and there's a reason for that. Because I actually realized that I was under eating carbs, and you know what? I started eating more carbs around November. Like, my glute progress is so much faster now. So I don't know if that's for everyone, but I have done a little bit of research and yes, carbs can help build muscle. So I just want to kind of throw that out there that everyone's like protein, protein, protein. I'm like, you know what? For me, it was actually eating a little bit less protein. My protein was like really high and adding more carbs. I just want to throw that out there because sometimes if you're under eating carbs, muscle building can slow down. Okay. So you do need to eat enough food, guys, because like we've been saying, most of you guys are not going to be able to build muscle in a deficit, okay? Question 2, are you lifting weights at least 3 times a week? Are you lifting heavier or getting more reps in each week? Really important to ask yourself this, okay? Going back to progressive overload, we talked about in day 1, all right? So being consistent with lifting, if you want to build muscle, you're going to have to do the workouts, right? And make sure that you're tracking your lifts and increasing that weight over time. Are you sleeping at least 7 hours are you sleeping at least 7 hours a night? Another important one, because if you're not sleeping well, you're not going to recover well. So meaning you're probably not going to have optimal energy in the gym. We also need to realize that recovery is actually like the biggest part of muscle building. It's not necessarily like all of the work that you're doing in the gym or at home lifting weights. It's when your body is breaking down that muscle tissue and rebuilding it stronger. So recovery is really, really important. And we all know that 40 plus, a lot of times our sleep does get compromised, right? We might have night sweats. We might have anxiety that keeps us up at night. Things like that, conditions like sleep apnea. So this is why it's really important to do things like analyze your sleep. I sleep with my Fitbit on, and like we talked about in day 2, there's lots of things that you guys can do that's in your control to help improve the quality of your sleep. Question number 4, are you keeping cardio sessions to a minimum? This is if you want to build muscle. So I do 1 cardio session a week. That's actually something I just added about a month ago. I just wanted to improve my heart health. And I also noticed I was kind of getting out of breath after heavy squats. So I'm like, okay, I could probably add a cardio day. But I also want to make sure I don't do too much because like we talked about in day 1, we talked about how if you do too much cardio, that can actually break down your muscle tissue. So if that's your primary goal, we want to make sure that we avoid doing a lot of HIIT, a lot of high intensity cardio, or just cardio in general. And then finally, the last question for assessing any plateaus in muscle building, are you repeating workouts and following a plan so you can improve? This is so important, guys. Don't do random workouts, okay? Random workouts that change all the time, they have fancy moves or they have combo moves. Those are not good for muscle building, okay? So What we want to do is do basic exercises, learn how to do them well, and progress them over time. And really, the best workout plan is one that repeats. My workout plan, I do the same one for like 6 months at a time. Inside Lean Physique, I usually change them about every 3 to 4 months. That's really the sweet spot. And you know what? Here's the thing, guys, it's a lot easier to follow a plan that repeats than having to figure out something like new every couple weeks. Okay. So that's a reality of muscle building. It's not really fancy. It's kind of boring actually. So let me know if you guys have any questions about plateaus with building muscle, but this progress audit is yours inside of the day 5 email. Now, like I was saying earlier, it's not too late to sign up for the challenge if you haven't. Go ahead and sign up because tomorrow I'm going to be sending out links to all the live replays and all of the resources. So even if you're just now signing up, you're going to be able to get all of that. So you guys can just get caught up in your own time. So no worries if you feel behind, because I promise you, you're not behind. So that is it for today, guys. So Monday, also make sure that you sign up for the challenge, because here's the thing. If you're still here on day 5, you're here for a reason. Okay, you not only have goals, right? This isn't like goals. I got goals I want to reach. Like, I want to look good in my bikini. Like, guys, it's deeper than that. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't want to spend my 40s and my 50s feeling like shit. I'm tired of the low energy. I'm tired. I was tired of like doing one thing and then hopping over here, like intermittent fasting. And then, oh, I'm going to do this metabolic conditioning workout. And then this day doing this. Like, I wasn't seeing the results I wanted because I wasn't sticking to a plan that actually works in this stage of life. So this isn't just about like feeling good in your bikini. Like, this is like, guys, I don't know about you, but I want to look and feel my best in this stage of life. So it's not just about fitting into your bikini. This is about like feeling good in your own skin. And this is about having energy. This is about building something that makes your life better. So it's not just about fitting in that bikini. It's about making your life better. And I don't know about you, but like, I'm so glad that I found a system that actually freaking works, instead of like being up in the middle of the night, scrolling on my phone, looking for solutions to fat loss. So guys, Monday, I'm only going to be sharing this with my email list for the people who signed up for the challenge. I have just a few spots open inside of my one-on-one coaching program, Lean Physique. This is your blueprint for getting lean and strong in perimenopause. And next week, I'm going to have the doors open Monday through Friday to join me, and I'll be your one-on-one coach. Because here's the thing that you need to realize, like, I do really hope that you guys take this information from the challenge and apply it to your life. But here's the thing, you don't know what you don't know yet, okay? You are going to come across things like, what happens when you do lose the weight? Do you know what to do after the diet? Do you know how to do a reverse diet back into maintenance so you don't crash out your metabolism and have to like try to sustain off 1,100 calories a day? Like, these things are really important. Do you know what to do when you come across a plateau? Do you know what to do when you want to quit and give up and throw your hands up in the air? This is why, guys, like, you can probably figure this out on your own, but it's going to take a lot longer, okay? So it's one of those things, you can either try to do this on your own and piece this all together, or you can come with me and I can be your guide and I can walk you through how to do all this stuff. I can walk you through how to make it a lifestyle that's actually easy and enjoyable. So stay on the lookout. I'm going to be sending out an email on Monday, on Memorial Day. And I will come live in the group because I do want to let you know about all what's included, like the price, all of that good stuff, right? Answer any questions that you might have. So Monday, I don't know about Monday. I'm trying to talk myself into coming live on Monday. It just kind of depends. But I will be live in the group Monday or Tuesday, just so I can give you guys a little more information about what Lean Physique entails. But guys, this is going to be your one-stop solution. So if you're tired of going to sweaty boot camps, if you're tired of intermittent fasting, if you're tired of cutting out fucking tomatoes out of your diet, then guys, come with me and let me show you a better way, because results is possible in this stage of life. Guys, I'm 45. I'm not even in a calorie deficit. I have a 2-pack and I'm eating 2,100 calories a day. I still drink alcohol. I had dessert twice this week. Like, you guys can actually have the body that you want and not have to give up everything that you love, but you just have to do the right things, and you have to do the right things consistently. And for a lot of you guys, you're going to need support on that journey, because like I was saying earlier, you're going to come across things that you're not prepared for, that you don't even know about yet, okay? And if you don't know how to navigate these situations, remember, guys, I don't want you to quit, because every time you quit, you just have more belief that you can't change your body, that you're too old, that your metabolism is broken. And that belief, that story gets stronger every single time you fail, okay? And the reason why you're failing isn't your fault. It's because you're going for things that are not sustainable solutions, things that don't actually work in this stage of life. So I don't want you to quit, because again, guys, it's harder to get going, and that just strengthens that story, that belief that you're broken. And you're not broken. You just need to do the right things, and you need a plan that's actually sustainable, that you can actually do when life is busy and crazy, okay? And that's exactly what we do inside Lean Physique. So thanks so much for being here for this challenge. I'm gonna go ahead and get off because I've been live for way too long. But I really hope that it's been valuable for you guys. And if you guys have a friend who's struggling with this stuff, please invite them to the group, okay? My goal is to help as many women as possible. And this is why I've shown up for free all this week, is because I truly care, okay? I understand what it's like to be putting in the work and not seeing the results that you want, not seeing your body change. That is really, really frustrating. And I want better for you guys. And I just wish that I found the solution way before I had to struggle for years and years and years. There is a solution, and I'm really excited to share this with you on Monday. So stay tuned. I will be live in our group Monday or Tuesday. If you guys have any questions until then, drop any questions that you have in the comments. All right, I'm cheering you on, and I will see you in the group.